guys, welcome back to We Should Talk, a pop culture interview series from In the Know. I'm your host, Gibson Johns, and today on the podcast we have Emira D'Spain, who, if you have gone on TikTok, you know who Emira is. She is a model. Last year she broke ground as the first Black trans woman to model for Victoria's Secret. She is intelligent, she's gorgeous, she's hilarious, and I loved getting some time with her. We discussed her career and how she left her gig at Paper Magazine to do full-time influencing and what went into that decision. And also just the balance she does publicly with her content of, balancing sharing the fun, beauty-focused glam content with some of the more serious stuff about her transition and trans topics and also what goes into that and what she does decide to share is the expectation that she'll share that stuff and also the comfort that she has in sharing that. And then sometimes those diverge, but I think that it sounds like they're going in the same direction now. But yeah, I had a fantastic discussion with her and we ended on some fun topics, who some of her fashion icons are, what it was like meeting Selena Gomez recently. And also, she had once alluded to this story of fighting with somebody over a Louis Vuitton bag when she was trying to buy it in a store, and she just alluded to it. But I asked her to elaborate on it, and you want to keep listening for that story because it's amazing. But yeah, I love Emira, and I'm so excited to see what she has up her sleeve for the future of her career. Because as we discussed in the interview, she's not here for a short time, she's here for a long time. She's not just here to shell out products in the short term. She's here to give you the full Emira experience. And baby, I am on board for the Emira experience. So keep listening for my interview with Emira D'Spain, and please rate, review, and subscribe to We Should Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you hear your podcasts. All right, so we're here with Emira D'Spain, a model and influencer. She can do it all, and she is conquering the world of modeling and TikTok and beyond. Emira, thanks for being here today. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride. We're
How
slaying.
yeah, we're slaying. How are you? You must be busier than ever, honestly, this month. Because I feel like everyone just like does the most this month, and you've never been bigger. So I'm
Yes,
guessing you're busier than ever. Yeah. How's it been going?
very. It's good. It's honestly really fun. Like I feel like last year during Pride, I would get so stressed out so quick. And I feel like this year I'm like having more fun than last year because I like came into it in the mindset of like, yes, it's work, but it's like fun work.
Yeah, totally. Are you somebody who, because I'm guessing that sort of in your world, it's sort of like you get invited to a lot, you get a lot of opportunities, but also like not everybody gets everything. Are you somebody who gets FOMO if you aren't invited to something or you don't get to do something, or are you just sort of like, no, I have enough going on and I get enough?
I think I a little bit of both. I feel like I have my moments when I have FOMO when I see my friends at things, and then I'm like, "Ugh, you know what? It's okay. It's like we're all in our own little worlds. We're all in like we all have different different audiences, different vibes. But yeah.
And there's plenty that you do, I'm sure, that everyone else has FOMO about. So
Yeah,
it all comes out in the wash.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
100%. So not to jump right into it, but I mean, I interviewed Serena Kerrigan last week. She had her big smoothie launch, and
Yeah.
we talked a lot about how she was still had a full-time job when she sort of for the first several years of like really kind of building her brand and becoming an influencer and really kind of going full force in that direction. I know that you were kind of the same. Like you had a full-time job for a while, and I guess you left it like not too long ago, like a little bit over a year ago, I want to say. What
Yeah. Exactly.
can you speak a little bit to that and sort of why that moment felt right for you to like really take that leap and go full force in this direction?
I mean, it was hard. It was definitely like I had been going back and forth with it for a while, and my parents were like, this is scary. They were like, to them, they had never could imagined that an influencer is like a viable career, a model is a viable career that you can do for a long time. So yeah, I was, at Paper, I was the beauty director at Paper, and it was in March of last year that I decided I was like, okay, I have X amount of dollars saved up. I feel really good about like where my career trajectory is going. I know that this is what I want to do. And if I feel this passionately about it, I'm going to make it work. So yeah, it worked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And does that decision like does it just free up your time to just do a bunch of stuff
Oh
that
my
maybe
God.
you had to say no to before?
Unbelievably, especially with events and like trips. Like I think I would get so bogged down with like just creating the content outside of my full-time job. So like I used to wake up at 4 a.m. and I would film from 4 to 8, and then I would go into my office. I'd leave my apartment at 8:30, and then I would come home and I'd edit. I'd come home at like 6-ish and I would edit until like 10.
Oh my God. 4 to 8 in the
It
morning
was
and just shooting content. I don't even
yeah,
my brain cells aren't
or
even like go my brain cells wouldn't even be able to like formulate thoughts at that point.
it was kind of fun. I have to say, it really did. Like I feel like I was at like the peak of my like, like I was like full girl boss mode, and
Love.
it felt really good. But once I stopped, I felt like I was able to put out better quality content because I'm
Right.
like, yeah, now I have the time to like actually ideate things that I want to share online, you know?
And you weren't like splitting your mind into two. It's sort of like you were sort of running two things at once. Yeah,
Exactly.
totally. And then before that, you graduated from NYU. You have degrees in communications and marketing. And obviously those two things, very much probably inform what you're doing now in terms of building your brand and kind of putting yourself out there. Are there certain things that you really have kept with you kind of as these years have gone on in terms of just like, oh, like it actually was really helpful that I went to college and like learned some of these skills or things? Because like I don't know, I think sometimes we think it comes so naturally, but I'm sure there's things that you learned there that have helped you.
100%. I think a couple of the finance courses I have
Yeah.
taken definitely help. But the one thing I think from marketing that has always stuck with me is that people never purchase a product, they purchase an experience. So like
Mm,
when I create content or like work with brands, I think of myself as an experience and less of like a medium in which to deliver product. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah. So what is in your words the Emira experience?
The Emira experience, oh my God. I think it's like funny, comedy, authenticity, just like true bad bitch energy.
The Emira experience kind of rolls off the tongue. Like that sounds pretty great. I like how that
Yeah, wait, I
sounds.
kind of like that. Is that the
Write that
title of my
down.
book? Yeah.
um, but then like conversely, something you did not learn in school obviously was makeup. And I saw an interview where you said that you're pretty much like essentially self-taught, like via just like watching YouTube and other people's content. I mean, was that just like an overtime thing, or was that like a conscious effort? Like, no, I want to learn how to do XYZ. Let me find videos on this.
It was kind of an overtime thing, but I feel like as I had many makeup mishaps, and I also think it went really like hand in hand with my transition. Like as I'm, learning about myself and like
Right.
growing up, I'm learning about beauty and like what I feel best in, what I feel most confident in. And I think that helped me like realize better things about myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And what is, I guess, how has that expanded for you? Like how does that manifest itself sort of like in the beauty looks that you put together as you've again kind of just settled into who you are?
Well, I feel like I had a moment in time for like each thing. So like when
Okay.
I first started, it was like my BB cream era. Like I was like a little baby fetus, like right in college. Like that was when I was just like playing around with makeup. I was like, oh my God, a BB cream is so crazy. And then it progressed and I started to get into what was after BB cream? I think I want to say I started doing like bronzer, and it was so bad. My bronzer era was not it.
Like
It
too
was like,
much, just too much
yeah,
going on.
too
Okay.
much. And like then my highlighter era, and then my lashes era. The lashes era really took it off. And yeah, I feel like they each had their moment, and like it would slowly build with each chapter of my life, which is actually really funny now that I think about it. Like that's a really good book
Yeah,
idea. It's like
a
each
hundred
chapter is
percent.
like
So what's the current era in terms of makeup or glam?
I think I'm in my blush era right now.
Okay.
I think most people are in their blush era, and it
I've
feels
I've been
good. I'm
noticing
like,
that. I feel like a lot of people are talking about blush right now. Okay. Love that.
yes, yes.
Love that. Um, I mean, and also, I mean, you said you're not in this necessarily to like sell product, but like you have your signature get ready with me videos and products have routinely sold out like as a result of those videos. When did you first know that you had that power to do that, to push product and that people will really listen to what you're saying and using?
I'm trying to think what was the first thing that I really sold out. I want to say it was the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Serum. But I feel like it would progressively get more and more with like really specific things. Like at first you're in your mind, you're like, oh no, that could have just sold out because
Sure.
like a lot of people are talking about it, a lot of people are using it. And then I'm like, the NARS Thrill blush is like this baby pink, neon pink blush that like is in the back of the NARS website. No one's really checking her out. I started using it and it sold out for so long that NARS had to send me, they like sent me a box of like 50. And they're like, we're sorry
Separate
about, they're
life.
like, we need to be stocked forever. I'm like, okay, thanks.
But keep talking about it too, right? Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Does that knowing you have that power and that influence, does that make you want to like to sell your own, to make your own and formulate your own, or is that not, again, you said you're not really in it to like necessarily sell the product because you're the experience, but do you think about that
Right.
sometimes?
Kind of. So right before actually really blowing up on TikTok, my goal was to leave paper and then like before the pandemic really, it was then to go to Stanford. I wanted to get my MBA at Stanford and launch a company, but not a beauty brand, more so again, an experience. I've always had that like
That's the
experience
word.
over product mindset. So yes, I do see myself doing that in the future, but it would never be like a beauty brand,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
But I feel like also you thinking in terms of, again, the experience, not the product. To me, that's a long-term thinking. That's not, you're thinking less in terms of like, okay, what product partnerships can I do in the next couple weeks or months? Like you're thinking, okay, well, what does Emira look like in a couple of years, and how does that manifest itself in broader ways? Is that correct in saying?
Exactly. Exactly.
So what can you tease anything that you have like big picture that like, I mean, even if it's just like, even if it feels like out of the realm of possibility, like again, there's so many different ways you can take it, I feel like.
Mhm. I would say it's something that's never been done before and it
Okay.
merges all like various different facets of beauty together.
Okay.
That's what I'll say.
Color me intrigued. Love that.
Yeah.
And then conversely, I mean, like you can use your power to sell product, but you also use your power in other ways, and just in terms of what you talk about and what who you're trying to
Yeah.
reach. How do you ultimately want to use that power in terms of like on that flip side of things?
I think the biggest thing and the most impactful thing for me is like talking about my experience as a trans creator and just like sharing what that looks like to me because so many people who follow me don't know that I'm trans. I don't talk about it that often and I've gotten
Hmm.
more and more comfortable talking about it online. But I feel like if one thing could be like taken away, like that I, give out to my content, like the one goal of my content, I guess, or goal of my online presence is to make people feel confident. That is like the one thing I want people to feel, whether they follow makeup or not, that they have it in them. Like it really is like about like making the beauty on the outside match how beautiful you are on the inside,
Mm.
you know?
And that's so important also these days when I would, this is not based on any fact, but I would just venture to guess that confidence is probably like lower than it has been in the past, just in terms of like how we're in such a culture of comparison right now. And so do you feel as though people are like kind of clamoring for that message even more so probably now?
I do. I get DMs, I get messages all the time, and it feels like people hate themselves more than ever. And I don't know if that's an effect of the pandemic.
Hmm.
I think we've seen so much change in like terms of like society since then. So I feel like people are like physically they don't feel their best or even mentally they don't feel their best. And I think that that's only continuing to get worse with social media. So
Hmm.
if I can even offer a glimmer of resilience, hope, whatever, then that's the one goal that I have.
Yeah, 100%. And before this, I watched several interviews that you've done recently, and you've said that you feel responsibility to share your story of your transition. And again, you don't talk about it in a majority of your videos. It's really, I think there's like, there's several videos recently that you've really talked about it, but it's not doesn't dominate your content. And earlier this year, you did post a really incredible video that documented your gender confirmation surgery. And I just took a couple looks at the comments, and it's like it's so much positivity that just floods in from that moment. That has to feel really kind of like emotionally affirming when
Oh, it
once,
does.
because you've talked about how you were nervous to put that out there.
I went back and forth for like 6 months, I think, of like whether or not I was going to post it. I was asking like my friends, my mom, my
Hmm.
dad. I was like, guys, I don't know what to do. And I finally decided to share it because, again, like you said, I feel that responsibility. But yeah, everyone was so positive and so sweet. And even now to this day, I need to post an update because people still ask every time I'm on live and stuff. They're like, "What's the update? Like, we need
Right.
to know how you're doing." I'm like, "Okay, okay." You twisted
Right.
my arm.
But how do you kind of balance that, the expectation for the update, the expectation for information about such a personal thing versus
Mhm.
what you're confident and comfortable sharing?
It's hard. It's a hard balance because I do feel that responsibility because especially now, I've already talked about it. So like I do feel the responsibility to continue talking about it. And it makes me feel a little bit more comfortable knowing how positive the reaction has been. So yeah, I I think the fears that I have about sharing that side of myself are slowly diminishing as I'm growing, you
Hmm.
know?
That's pretty
It's
beautiful
good.
though. Yeah, that's pretty beautiful. And
Yeah,
and another thing you've said is that your audience has helped you unmask yourself. And that's can
100%.
you elaborate on that and just explain sort of what you mean when you say that?
I think they've really helped me. They, in the same way that I have helped them find their confidence and inner beauty, I think they've done the same to me because now more than ever, I feel my most confident when I'm talking to them online, when I'm sharing about, things like that are so personal to me. The other, like a month, I posted a video of myself crying because I found a conservative Twitter thread about myself. And it made me so sad. And I shared that online. And at first I was like, oh, why did I post that? Like no one cares. No one wants to see someone crying online. That's such a like pity post. But it felt so good to share. And it felt so good to see the reaction of people being like, we got you. Like it doesn't matter. Like you have all the confidence in
Yeah,
the world. Like be.
100%. And I think that
Yeah.
sometimes it's like you might have felt silly right away after you posting that, but ultimately, like when you do see that, when you do have that moment of feeling down or something triggers that, I think just us as like a generation, like so one of the ways that we need to feel comforted is by putting it out there and hearing that affirmation back from friends and also just people who follow us online. I think that that's kind of like a thing that we all experience, I think, now as just as millennials and Gen Z, you know?
Exactly. And it's something that I feel like is so specific to us. Like right before I posted that video of myself crying, I FaceTime my mom and she's at the gym. Like she's like kind of like half trying to comfort me, half like in the middle of her workout. And I'm like, I felt bad. I'm like, I don't want to like disrupt her workout. I'm like, this like doesn't feel like a good
This is important.
like I'm
Yeah.
like, I was like, never mind, mom. I was like, forget it. And so then I just like went on TikTok and it's like a different kind of comfort that I find in my community versus like, my family
No,
or
100%.
friends.
Like, and this is not, it's a very different thing, but like my family had one of our dogs pass away earlier this year, and I posted about it. And I go back to those comments kind of frequently because it's when I'm having those moments,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my God, Lo, like this is a reminder of the love in your life, you know?
Yeah. And the amount of people that like genuinely care about you and support you and like
Yes,
wish you the best. Like they're wishing you the best in the same way that you're wishing them the best. It's
100%.
awesome.
Yeah, it is really awesome. Another person I interviewed earlier this year was Gigi Gorgeous. She released a book earlier this year, and she
Nice.
spoke about how, for her and her experience, like she feels like she's realized that her transition it will like never really fully be over because there are always new corners for her to turn and things to uncover and experiences that she'll go through. Like like she's kind of starting trying to have a child and kind of hold that whole experience. Is that your experience as well? Like the mentality of like a transition is not there's not an end post for a transition, or do you think differently about it?
I feel like I think differently about it because to me, I would equate my transition to like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. And
Ah,
now it's like, where
yeah.
am I going from? Like the butterfly doesn't turn back into a caterpillar, but they might have like different obstacles that come their way once they've become a butterfly.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really beautiful way to put it. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's
Again,
also
different experiences. I,
yeah, a
I,
hundred
I can
percent.
see how she think that too.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
think it's
yeah.
really I think sometimes the people think that it's sort of like a monolithic experience, but it goes to show that
Mhm.
everyone thinks about it differently. Um, I'm curious, you were born in Dubai, you lived in Kansas, you lived in Florida, you lived in Texas, you went to NYU, you live in New York now. you've literally been all over the map. And I think what's interesting is that you've always spoken about how like you felt nothing but love growing up, and like you really felt supported and loved by your family, and which is very different than like I think the rap that some of those states and places have in terms of how they treat queer people. Is
Yeah.
that to me that's just a testament probably to just like how amazing your family was growing up, and how amazing that support system is that how you sort of think about that, and how it's different than perhaps somebody else going through your similar experience would have been in Florida or Texas?
Yes, 100%. And that's why it's so important for me to talk about my family and like share my family online and stuff, because I get comments and DMs from parents and they're saying, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, my kid just came out as trans and I don't know what to do." And I'm like, "Girl, watch my videos, show them my videos. We'll all kiki together. Don't worry about it. Just show them you love them." And I feel like that, yeah, I grew up in a very privileged setting by having my parents who really, they genuinely, I think, are like the definition of unconditional love. And it's so, I never had to come out as anything. Like my parents just always kind of knew. They let me be Emira since the day I was born. Like my bedroom was pink for the entirety of my childhood. I had every doll, Barbie outfit under the sun. Like it really was like a dream growing up. And I hear some of my trans friends' experiences, and I'm like, I wish I could like, I wish you could have been a kid now so that I could be the voice for you, you know?
100%. But now you can't do that for the friends you have now, but you can do that for so
Yes,
many
yes.
people. Like you're a beacon of hope for so many people, and that's just such a beautiful thing to be able to pass on, and to continue being for people.
And that is truly the goal of my, I think every person has a purpose on earth. Like that's the one goal that like gets you through. And then when you die, that's your goal. And I think my goal is to simply talk about my life and share my life and make other people feel confident, but also advocate for the community that I'm a part of. And I think that's what I've been doing so far and will continue to do until I
Yes,
die.
100%. Yeah, and there's also so much more room in what you're doing for the more
Yes.
fun things, and for the beauty, and for the fashion, and for the travels, and it can all fit together in this beautiful puzzle, I think, and in the Amira experience. So I think it's I love it. But I want to end with a
Yeah.
couple fun questions. So you recently, I work for In the Know. We you just did a coveted closets episode with us, where you took us
Yes.
through your closet and some fashion looks. And I love that you said that your three kind of fashion icons, at least in this video, is what you said, is you said Chanel from Scream Queens, which is an amazing reference, Christine Quinn from
Yes.
Selling Sunset, and Elle Woods, obviously from Legally Blonde. What
Mhm.
about those three women like kind of like reaches out to you, and really has connected with you over the years?
I feel like on a like more surface level, their style is all so like nuanced to their personality. And like Chanel Oberlin from Scream Queens, for example, like she's like head bitch in charge, but also like you like the outfits are like classy in a way, but like you can it's like power,
Yes.
like like they all have like different like layers to it. So I don't know. I think that's what's always stood out to me, like from a style level. But aside from that, like the confidence, like they're all like confident and it shows through their clothing and like aura of like the type of outfits that are styled or chosen or whatever.
Yeah, I think that first point that you made is also really interesting, because it's when you really think about those three women, I'm sure there are a ton of people who just see how they're dressed on the street, and it's like, or and two of these are fictional characters, but I think we know what they represent. Like they would probably dismiss them as being like ridiculous or just too over the top or whatever. But like so much
Mhm.
thought went into those outfits, so many different details and things. Like that's yeah, that there really is that through line between all three of them.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Another, you alluded to the story. You pulled out a Louis Vuitton bag in this video, and you said that you had to fight somebody over it. And you didn't elaborate, but I kind of want you to
Mhm.
elaborate if you can. How did
Oh
you
my
walk
God.
away with that bag?
Okay, so it's the on the go mini, the on the go
Yes.
PM, and it was spring 2020. I want to say it was 2021 because I got it in 2020. No, it was spring 2022. It was spring 2022. I was in Paris and I just went shopping. Like I was like, I know I wanted to buy something. So I go in, the collection dropped the day that my plane took off. So like I landed in Paris with the intention, oh, I have to get something from this collection. And um, so I go in there and I'm like, find the one, it's the last one in the country. I think actually she said it was the last one in the collection. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure she said it was the last one in the collection in that size. And so I was like, oh my God, I was like, I have to get it. And I forgot that you have to have your passport in order to make an international like luxury
Yes.
purchase. Like you have to have your passport there. So I was like, well, great. And also the Louvre, it was at the Champs-Élysées store, which is like the line, there's a line outside. Um, and so she's like, okay, she's like, I'll just hold it for you and like go get your passport. So I'm like, okay, so I'm waiting there. She goes away and I'm waiting there with the bag, calling an Uber. And this lady comes over and she starts to like grab the bag and she's like touching it and stuff. And I didn't want to say anything. So I'm like, I'm not the employee. Like, I feel bad being like, that's my bag. But then I was like, oh, I was like, I think I'm gonna buy that one. The girl didn't speak English. And so like they had to get the Louis Vuitton like employee to come over and like talk to her. And I was like, oh, I was like, I'm just gonna get my passport really quick.
This is the Louis Vuitton store in Paris. It's not a sample sale. Like we like have some
No, right? I was
decorum.
like, right?
Okay, so
Crazy.
you talked her down. Okay, that's that's good.
Locked her down. I ran home or ran back to the apartment. And I like got my passport, Ubered back. I was like freaking out. I was on the phone with my mom. I was like, Mom, the bag's gone. I was like, the bag is gone. My mom's like, it's literally a bag. Like, chill out. I like cut the line at Louis Vuitton. They're
Oh
like,
my God.
no, 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 the
Listen.
line.
I think people
It's still
understand.
so
Like,
stitched.
say sorry when you come back out with
Yeah,
the bag. Exactly. They'll get it.
exactly.
Um,
Crazy.
you've had a whirlwind past several years and with amazing opportunities. Who is someone that you've met that sticks out as the most surreal, or you had the kind of maybe best experience with that you know, even like 4 years ago you couldn't even imagine that you would have been talking to them?
Oh my God, that is a very good question. I want to say Selena Gomez. I met
Mm,
her actually twice at both Rare Beauty events. One as a editor, and that one was different because I was like, you know, like in a hotel room, like talking to her about
right.
product, and it
We've
was
all
very
done
like
it.
work
Yeah.
focused. Right. Yeah, exactly. Second time I met her as an influencer, and it was like, oh my God, she is the most like the kindest person ever. And like I grew up watching her like on TV and just she's amazing.
Hmm.
And you know, we really got to talk about like product and rare beauty and mental health. And I don't know, it was amazing. It was
That is
awesome getting to
amazing.
meet
And
her.
she's also one of those celebrities that you just know is scrolling TikTok a lot. So I'm sure she's
Oh,
very
yeah.
familiar with you. Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
And
The
then
craziest one that follows me is Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga followed me and I flipped out. And that one's crazy because she'll comment on my like friends only videos and I'm like, it's Lady Gaga in
and
here.
that's literally Lady Gaga. It's literally Stephanie Germanotta. Okay, like
Yes.
please. That's not like her
Love
intern,
her.
that's her.
No.
Exactly. That is amazing.
Queen.
Well, you'll meet her someday, I feel. And the my final question for you, you know, you say in a lot of your get ready with me videos, let's go find a sugar daddy. How is the search going? What's the latest?
Summer's dry right now. It's bleak. It's
They're all out
bleak
in the
out here
Hampton.
for
They're all out
us.
in the Hamptons.
I know. That's true. I'm going out there tomorrow afternoon, so we'll see. We'll
Okay.
see.
Okay, the search is ongoing. That's the answer.
Search is ongoing.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, I love it. Well, Amira, this has been so much fun. Again, you're such a fun and important figure to have in our culture right now, and I'm so excited to watch all the success that you have and also will continue to achieve. Is there anything that you want to plug or say before we go?
I guess I would just say be kind to your LGBTQ friends in this month and beyond. And yeah, I would say
Mm,
that.
be kind.
Spread
Love
love.
it. Love it. Well, Mira, thank you so much, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Yes, likewise.
All
Thank
right,
you.
bye. Thanks for tuning in to We Should Talk. I hope you enjoyed the interview. You can find out more about In the Know at intheknow.com. You can follow me, Gibson Johns, at Gibsonoma on Twitter and Instagram. And you can listen to all of our interviews, past and future, by searching We Should Talk wherever you get your podcasts. Hope to see you next time.